speak about. What is up, guys? Happy Sunday. Thank you for clicking on today's Sunday service video. If you don't know me, my name is Zach Drock, and I got a really cool video today for you, so let's just hop right into it. Alright guys, today's message is called Giving to God. And I know you're thinking, Zach, shouldn't we give everything to God? Yes, absolutely, but I have a very specific example that I have wanted to talk about for a really long time. And so we're actually going to turn it to the book of 1 Samuel, and we're actually going to talk about Samuel's mother, okay? And this is just really cool. We actually do have quite a bit of reading I want to get through today. So let's start at 1 Samuel chapter 1, verse 9. Once, after a sacrificial meal at Shiloh, Hannah got up and went to pray. Eli the priest was sitting at his customary place beside the entrance of the tabernacle. Hannah was in deep anguish, crying bitterly as she prayed to the Lord. And she made this vow, O Lord of heaven's armies, if you will look upon my sorrow and answer my prayer and give me a son, then I will give him back to you. He will be yours for his entire lifetime, and as a sign that he has been dedicated to the Lord, his hair will never be cut. This is actually really cool because she didn't even necessarily want to raise Samuel his entire life, anything else. She just wanted to give him back to God. She just wanted to have a son because she thought she was barren. So this act of just crying out to God in prayer, she just wanted to give everything back to him. She just wanted to experience having a child. All right, let's continue to verse 12. As she was praying to the Lord, Eli watched her, seeing her lips moving but hearing no sound. He thought she had been drinking. Must you come here drunk? He demanded. Throw away your wine. Oh no, sir, she replied. I haven't been drinking wine or anything stronger. But I am very discouraged, and I was pouring out my heart to the Lord. Don't think I am a wicked woman, for I have been praying out of great anguish and sorrow. In that case, Eli said, go in peace. May the God of Israel grant the request you have asked of him. Oh, thank you, sir, she exclaimed. Then she went back and began to eat again, and she was no longer sad. What an amazing thing that we can experience when we take things to God in prayer, about how much peace and grace he gives us when we could be in deep anguish or anger or pain, but when we take it to him, he understands and he listens to us and he gives us peace in those moments. All right, guys, so now we're gonna jump down to verse 20. I know there's a lot of reading and I know we're kind of jumping around, but it'll all tie in together and be really cool, I promise. So let's go into verse 20. And in due time she gave birth to a son. She named him Samuel, for she said, I asked the Lord for him. The next year, Elkanah and his family went on their annual trip to offer sacrifice to the Lord and to keep his vow. But Hannah did not go. She told her husband, wait until the boy is weaned, then I will take him to the tabernacle and leave him there with the Lord permanently. Whatever you think is best, Elkanah agreed. Stay here for now, and may the Lord help you keep your promise. So she stayed home and nursed the boy until he was weaned. All right, now what we're going to do is we're actually going to flip to chapter 2 in 1 Samuel, and we're going to start in verse 19. So at this point, she was in anguish, she was in pain, she asked God for a son, he gives her a son, she gives birth, she raises him up how long she can, and she takes him to the tabernacle, she's full of joy, and now we're going to start in verse 19 after Samuel has been there a while. Each year, his mother made a small coat for him and brought it to him when she came with her husband for the sacrifice. Before they returned home, Eli would bless Elkanah and his family and say, may the Lord give you other children to take the place of this one she gave to the Lord. And the Lord blessed Hannah, and she conceived and gave birth to 3 sons and 2 daughters. Meanwhile, Samuel grew up in the presence of the Lord. All right, so let's unpack this. I'm sorry, this is just really cool, and I really love this story. So she was in anguish. She didn't know what to do. She was in pain, and she goes, Lord, Lord, and she cries out to God. And he gives her a child, right? The Bible says that God will give us the desires of our heart. Now, that doesn't mean, all these worldly things that we want and what we want to do and everything, God just automatically going to give it to us. But what that means is that God, when we put God at the center of our lives, when we make him our number one, he will give us the desires that we should have, right? He will help us to understand what desires we should have, right? And that's what he did for Hannah. And it's so cool because she was in so much pain and she didn't even want to experience, raising the child his whole life. She just wanted to have a son. And because she thought she was barren and she felt inadequate and she felt unworthy. And so God gives her that, right? And not only that, but she gives him Samuel, right? Samuel then becomes an amazing prophet. He's the one that anoints David and Saul to be the kings of Israel and so many amazing things. And in return for doing that, for her faithfulness and what she promised to give to God, she then gave him, 3 sons and 2 daughters? Think about that. Think of all the things that we go through and all the things that we think that either God is taking away or not giving us. When we put our faith in him and when we understand the desires of our heart that he gives us and he gives us to him, how much are we going to intend to give back? And a lot of the times I think this is something that I struggle with. I want all these things and I want to move forward and I want all these things. But am I right now ready to do so? Am I ready to say, you know what, God, you gave me all these things and I love them so much, but I'm going to give them back to you so you are in control of them. And I think a lot of times that's the one thing that I struggle with in terms of giving to God. Not that I don't want it, not that I don't receive it, not that God isn't willing to give it to me, but that I personally am not ready to receive and I'm not in a place to receive everything that he has for me. Another example is David. So let's look at David versus Goliath for a little bit. The Bible says that he was a shepherd and he watched over his father's sheep and he fought a lion and a bear to keep his sheep safe, right? Without that confidence and without God protecting him and keeping him safe and giving him the strength to defeat those things, he probably wouldn't have had the courage or the ability to go fight Goliath. But with the smaller things that he went through and with all the smaller things that God gave him, he was able to do the big thing. You know, David, Goliath, and the story that everybody knows, right? So my prayer for you and my question for you is, what are you giving to God? What are some areas in our lives that we can continue to give him and continue to say, Lord, this is something that I truly cherish and I truly love, but I'm going to give to you because everything belongs to you. Nothing in this world belongs to us. God made it all. He made it for us to enjoy, but it's all his. So that's something that I'm working on. That's something that I'm very passionate about. It's something that I'm working with God with and what else I can give to him in my life. You know, a lot of times I feel like we think, oh yeah, I give everything to God. But what are some things that we haven't taken to him yet? What are some things that we haven't talked to him about or haven't explained to him? And how can we grow closer and closer and closer to him, and so he can give us the desires of our heart and work all things good for those who love him? So guys, I love you guys. Thank you so much for clicking on today's video. If you like this kind of content, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Turn that notification bell on so you know every time I upload a video. I love you guys. Fill yourself with laughter and love, and we'll see you next Sunday.